All right, I'm going to get us started. People will come in as they come in. My name is Sebastian Grube. I work with the NYU Abu Dhabi Art Gallery as the Community Engagement and Marketing Officer. And it's a great pleasure to welcome you to today's conversation with Cao Fei and Hoda AlKhzaimi. This conversation is called Representing Humanity in Virtual Reality. And it's part of our series of conversations called Navigating Digital Identities that is based on the virtual exhibition called Not In, Off, Along, or Relating to a Line, which you can see on our website. I'll post a link to that exhibition in the chat at the end of this conversation. And it's co-curated by Maya Allison and Heather Dewey-Hackborg, who created this exhibition with works made with digital tools or for the digital space. And it's an exhibition specifically curated for the mobile phone, where visitors can go on a forking path through the artist's work. As just a couple of logistics on how this talk is going to work, we are recording this conversation to be published later on YouTube. If you don't wish to be seen in that recording, I encourage you to turn off your cameras. Otherwise, feel free to keep them on. Right now, you shouldn't be able to unmute yourselves. For the first part of the conversation, we'll start out with Hoda, who will give some introductory remarks for the first 10 minutes, and we'll move over to Cao Fei. Shu, who is Cao Fei's assistant, will be translating for her tonight, or this afternoon or morning, wherever you are. And then Hoda and Cao Fei will enter into a conversation. And after about 30 to 40 minutes, we'll open up the conversation to you all in this room. I will allow you to unmute yourselves. You can either ask questions with your voice, or you're welcome to ask questions in the chat that I can then read. And overall, feel free to comment and chat with each other using the chat or adding on to the conversation. And with that, I'm going to hand over the virtual microphone to Hoda, who will get us started.
Hi, everyone. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, wherever you're connected from the world, across the world. I could see a few people connected from Morocco and from the GCC, in addition to other parts of the world. So welcome on board. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As we say in the local dialogue, I'd like to thank first the Art Gallery for bringing these conversations, which are untypical normally between artists and technologists. And my name is Hoda AlKhzaimi. I'm the director for Center for Cybersecurity in NYU Abu Dhabi, one of the directors. I'm also assistant professor in Department of Engineering. And today I would like to reflect on the digital bubble that we're living in today, especially with the pandemic and with everything going on in the current global, I would say, blessing/crisis. We've seen a huge, tremendous move towards digitalization. What took us years to convince leaderships and to convince structures of organization to move towards when it comes to digitalized services, they are going in an accelerated mode in today's world, which is, I think, a blessing and could be a challenge if we don't address few aspects of our digital identities. And I was on the forefront always of trying to investigate how can we build a reliable digital presence in terms of respecting the digital identity of the users and introducing measures of privacy, measures of ownership and control when it comes to their existence in the digital space. That includes as well the right to be erased, the right not to be analyzed, which are typically very difficult at the moment to be utilized across board. And when it comes to these bubbles that we have created in technology, we all know that migrating identities from the real reality towards a digital reality would include being in a virtual space, or what we know as a VR. And normally this is what is referred to surrounding users with a digital world that stimulates them through having specific objects, for example, using a headset or using 360 view of specific platforms, to having augmented realities when this virtual reality fails, for example, when it comes to adding extra layer of 3D content through, for example, having wearable devices that you would use, for example, or robotics devices that you would have used to empower your existence and presence on the digital space. Now, yes, we do have privacy, security, and information overload and whatnot of vision and psychological issues to existing and digital platforms, but it also comes with its own blessings of making us all connected as we are today on this platform, regardless of our geographical locations or our mediums. I would say there is still a concern about the accessibility of these digital realities that we build, or smart cities that we build around the world to all the populations, because as it is anticipated today, only 4 billion of users do exist on the digital space out of the 8 billion of population of the world. So it means there is a huge steps of, I would say, maintaining the SDGs goals when it comes to providing digital accessibility and innovative platform to the widespread of people across the globe. So I can't wait until we start the conversation between how art mitigate this conversation and motivates us not to only consider functionality as a technology developer, but also consider, I would say, the empathical aspects of bringing a soul to the table when it comes to representing identities. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Hoda. And with that, I'll hand it over to Shu and Cao Fei.
曹老师，您可以开始您的那个讲话了。
好，今天谈论这个，比如人性这个在虚拟这个语境上面的一个反应。就比如说，我觉得最早在我接触虚拟世界，这个第二人生，这个2007年的时候，其实我是用一个化身China Tracy 去介入到这个虚拟世界的。由此，它本身的这个我触及这个虚拟世界的这个出发点，它就本来就是带着我这个人本身的这个印记。我们大家都说虚拟化身它可能是一个空洞的，甚至是不是代表一个电子幽魂，电子的一个这样一个灵魂，或者一个空洞的一个所谓的一个替代。那么其实在做这个 iMiro 这个作品，或者在做整个建设人民城寨然后比较乐观的积极的去建立的当时的虚拟生活线上生活的时候，还是带着一个这个乐观性去建构的这个未来的这个虚拟现实生活的。
So today we would like to talk about humanity in the virtual world. Actually, when I first started stepping into the virtual world, it was in 2007. I went onto the online platform Second Life. I used my avatar, which is called China Tracy, to explore this virtual world. And in the virtual world, it was not just about a hollow digital ghost that without a soul. When I first start in this virtual world, I bring my own personality in it. So the identity in the virtual world is part of humanity as well. So later when I make the word iMirror, or in the project R&B City, I had a very positive attitude towards it in building this virtual world.
那么，所以你也会看到这个 China Tracy 为化身的这个主角，也就是我，他也会在这个 iMiro 里面发生了一段比如说浪漫的、真实的一段情感生活，以及在后面的 R&B City 这个创作里面也会看到 China Tracy 有了他的一个有一个小的宝宝叫 China Sun， 那个时候是我在现实里面生了一个孩子。其实我一直在这个现实跟虚拟之间往返。然后也并没有将我的虚拟的身份、虚拟的生活跟现实中间画了一刀，画了一个明确的界限。 反而是呢，我希望在虚拟的这个生活或者虚拟的角色里面呢，不断的注入了这个情感或者人的这个特性在里面。比如说在 Living Army 的作品里面，China Tracy 就会跟他的儿子进行了不断的对生存、现实、虚拟、死亡等等进行了很多哲学性的讨论。
Yeah, so when I was the China Tracy in the R&B city, the protagonist is actually myself. So in this virtual city, I experienced romance and had a life in the virtual world as well. And later on, in the virtual world, I had a son who's called China Son, and in real life, I also had a son. So I actually, for me, the virtual world and the real world does not separate very strictly. There's no clear boundary between the virtual and the real. I want to invest my emotions. I want to invest this sort of human side, human feelings into the virtual world. Later in the work, life in R&B city, you can see in this work, China Tracy and the son had a lot of interaction. They discuss about life, they discuss about death, they discuss about life experiences.
那么在16、17年，当全球都更为转向关注这个VR、AR 的时候，我就开始做了这个接下来后来几年的这方面的新的一个虚拟现实一个时期的尝试，以及比如像在2018年的时候，我可能创作了 Asian One， 然后也探讨了工厂里面的无人化，对今天中国这个新的这个无人制造业的一个影响。那么就是2019年的这个作品 Nova 也探讨了这个中国建国以来的科技技术跟这个中国这个发展电子计算机的发展的一个关系。那么再后来就是说后疫情期间的这个永不消失的电波这个作品，包括这次参加了这个 NYUAD 的这个项目李星星漫游记，其实都是这些作品其实都是反映了不同程度的反映了技术在今天跟进步的一个关系，或者说在后疫情时代，我们如何通过这样的一个媒介重新获得一种新的链接。
So from the 2016 to the 17s, there were a lot of developments in VR and AR technology, and I had a lot of exploration in this field. In 2018, I made the world Asia One. So I explored the factories in China when the manufacturer industry had an upgrade, and there are a lot of new technology was applied in this factory, and less and less human were involved. Even some factory, they don't need any human being working there. And in 2019, I made a film Nova. Nova explored after the new China was founded. The film explored the relationship between how the social development and the technological development, especially in terms of computer science. And later I made the AR and VR work Eternal Wave. It's in the period of the post-pandemic age. Also in my work in the NYUAD, the 曹老师那个作品的英文叫什么？
那个漫游怎么说 ？Oldness 漫游。漫游记。
不是很确定
李星星拼音漫游记。没事，这个在这个展览里面展出的这个作品就好。
Yeah, so the work in this exhibition in NYUAD also explore how technology can bring people together.
大概是这些，然后待会儿可以再进一步讨论吧。
Yeah, so that's mostly what Cao Fei would like to talk about now. We can talk a bit more later.
Perfect.
Thank you. Yeah, and Hoda, Cao Fei, take it away.
Perfect. So I do have like a question for Cao Fei regarding the choice of the artistic expression. You chose digital platforms as your choice of artistic expression. And I'm sure at points of time, this was maybe challenging, and at others, it was inspiring. So can you walk us through why would you choose the digital platform as a choice of your artistic expression? How impactful is it to you? Would you find some moments that this would inspire you, or it's the reverse? It would just, affects your inspiration, introduce a bit of a challenge in creating the pieces.
Yep. 曹老师他问说，因为您一直在作品中选择使用这种数字技术来创作，然后这种数字技术它一方面会带来很多的困难，一方面又会带来很多新的启发。他想问一下您，就是在这个创作的过程中有没有一些遇到了一些困难，或者是一些启发，可以跟大家分享一下。
比如早前创作的时候，比如刚才说到最早接触数字世界的时候，像07年那个时代，我觉得那个时候对技术还是充满了乐观主义。因为那时候的虚拟现实这种平台还是提供了很多未来的可能性，比如融合了这个教育，免费的教育、分享的教育，以及这个创造性，就是比如在这个虚拟世界拥有创造的权利，还有这个消费，消费还有那个新的这个虚拟金融。其实我是当时在这个 Second Line 里面看到了这个未来的一个雏形，但是在今天你不会看到已经有这 NFT， 有了这个还有我们有不同的这个社交媒体，其实将我们当时的这些构想都实现了，但是会分散在不同的形态里面会出现。所以我对虚拟世界或者对于技术媒介的兴趣，其实最早是从那里开始的。但是要补充的一个就是说，像我很多作品里面，它可能不仅仅是用了虚拟一个媒介，就是说，我觉得对现实的关注跟用数字表现的这个关注，或者对于技术对人类这个影响，其实我是同时都是会非常感兴趣的。
So in 2007, when I first stepped into the digital world, my attitude was quite positive. I felt like there were a lot of possibilities in the future in this new world, and there were free education, and also it offered a lot of chances of creativity. It gives people rights to create things in this platform and offer new lifestyle of consumerism, and it also new opportunities for finance. So in the Second Life platform, I aspire to see how future will grow. So at that time, my overall feeling was quite positive. And now you can see a lot of things actually happened from that in the previous digital world, in these imaginations. Now it becomes into reality. Now we have NFT, we have different social medias that bring people together. So there are many different forms of digitalized world. And now my interest for digital media was originated from there. And now I actually have, although I use digital media to create my work, but I'm equally also interested in both the digital technology as well as the social issues in the real life.
然后我觉得有一个转折点，就可能从这个 Asian One， 就是说可以看到这个无人技术它的这个对就是说就是工人的这个用工的一个取代，特别在中国以这个大量的人口的背景的这个作为制造业的这样一个用工人口，其实我觉得是产生了一个非常深远的一个影响，但是它也是一个全球不可逆的一个现象。包括着这个像亚马逊类似的这样，中国有很多这样的一个大的购物的电商网站，它也极大量的取缔了现实生活中的这个实体商店、个体户等等等等，所以它对中国的这个经济产生了，比如传统经济产生巨大的一个影响，但是对于新生的经济。又出现了一个所谓的一个转向，那么目前就是说看到是两种力量将技术推到的很前，但是传统的那部分呢就正在这个往一个不知道一个其他的一个方向去走向，我们还没有看到更有一个积极的一个方式去转换它。那包括我们可能也会看到这个过多的这个监控啊、人脸扫描等等的这一类的技术，在公共场所大量的使用这样的技术，特别在疫情时代，包括后疫情时代，包括全球可能都弥漫的这个泛恐怖主义的这种现实里面，就变得这样的这个个人私密的这种信息，被作为这个公共的调取跟使用，所以我觉得我们面临的一个新的一个处境，就是说我们就是除了作为艺术家，或者作为我们一个个体，或者作为研究员，我们如何面对这样的一个技术对我们人性本身的一个权利的一个影响。我也想听听 Hoda 他作为这样的研究，他可能怎么去看这一部分，因为我的作品可能或多或少了也去触及了这样的一个议题。
Yeah, so the change started from my work in Asia One. In this work, I explore how new technology, especially in the manufacturing industry, that replaced a lot of workers in China. Considering the context in China, that China has a huge population, so the new technology really had a huge influence not only in China but also globally. Just like shopping websites like Amazon in China, we have similar companies there, and we can see that this new technology and new economy, they are replacing the traditional business, the physical shops and the workers, and the traditional economy and the new economy, these two powers are still in contest with each other, and currently we don't know where the traditional economy and this form of business will become, and we haven't seen a positive future for this change. And nowadays we can see a lot of surveillance devices such as face recognition camera everywhere. And the world is also having a lot of issues such as extremism. And so from a personal point of view, as an individual or as an artist, I feel like a lot of our personal information is no longer a privacy, and our privacy has been compromised hugely. So in this new reality, I really want to hear from Hoda. As you are a researcher in this area, I really want to see, I really want to hear from you. How do you feel this? How do you feel about this technological development and this sort of power over us individuals?
Yeah. part of why I was excited for this talk is that Cao Fei, in your work, you represent the optimal kind of optimistic kind of outlook over this virtual or digital reality perspective. For us in the technology or the cybersecurity world, we have this kind of a constant strive of protecting privacy and protecting confidentiality of the digital assets. And in this sense, a digital asset would be a user identity, for example. And there is always a strive to make things perfect, but it will never be perfect, as we have seen in a digital world, because there's always this group of people who are designing, for example, multiple security, I would say, solutions to protect against attacks, for example, that might exist on the robotic system that you have discussed in the manufacturing kind of component or in a smart city component. But because our efforts are in majority, they're very decentralized somehow. It takes time to just build the right level of security for each category of profile, of device profile that might exist, for example, on a smart city component or on a cybersecurity component. So what you are building in one beautiful concept of a city, for us, it's a microscopic element of just analyzing the thousands of devices and the thousands of AI-based, for example, concepts that exist, and how can we dissect them into smaller layer that we can start providing privacy and security elements to each one of them, with the ultimate goal of preserving user identity. As you have known, as you have highlighted, sometimes the reality does not match a digital identity, and this level of misrepresentation could be malicious sometimes. Sometimes it's not malicious, but it brings into the question a lot of, I would say, it brings into the picture a lot of hesitance from the user to use these digital components. Not everyone wants to support automation 100%, although they do realize that with automation and with the creation, for example, it would support the creation of over 97 million jobs, as phasing out, for example, 80-something million jobs. People are still hesitant because of that component, of the component of, first, is this digital medium going to preserve my identity, the privacy? Is it going to subject the user to biases? And this is something we've seen, because end of the day, people who are developing the technology are human beings, and they do have biases. I mean, there are over 80 human biases that exist in the world. So can you imagine, as a coder or a technology developer, that you would start initiating and building in these biases into the technology? So we have a huge, I would say, challenges here, not only to build security or to build privacy components, but also to debias these components that would build a digital space end of the day. Yeah.
Yeah. 我简单的总结一下 Hoda 刚刚说的哈，他刚刚说到了他们就是在做科技从业的方面有很多，他们有很多努力去让这个技术变得更加完善，就是说比如说在于保护那个个人隐私方面，或者说在比如说技术升级，除了就是对于传统带来的那种负面的影响以外，也会去创造一些新的，比如说新的工作机会等等。但他还说到一点，就是说比较除了一方面的困难是在说技术上的怎么去完善这个技术，去比如说保护隐私，保护就是这些数字资产。另外一方面就是说，在设计这个技术的时候，因为人性本身会带有很多的偏见在里面，所以说另外一方面就是怎么去另外一个方面的困难就是说怎么在创造这个技术的时候去减少带入这种偏见在这个技术里面。
好，他还有没有问题问我？我讨论。
Do you have more questions for
Yes.
Cao Fei?
Yeah. So we've discussed the challenges, the opportunities, and the perspective of an artist and the perspective of a scientist or a technology developer. I wanted to ask, I see that there is a gap here. There is a gap that exists because as a technologist, you would target functionality first and foremost. And as an artist, you would target more the humanity concept and whole, or even I would say approaching the impossibilities that goes beyond functionality. So the empathical level of building a solution is there for you. So do you see synergies and collaborating between artists and scientists to bring in, I would say, a much more accurate digital space into reality than what we have at the moment?
他刚刚说到，就是作为就是技术方面的专家的话，他们会更考虑这个功能性。然后您作为艺术家的话，您在创作的过程中面会考虑很多人性啊、情感这方面，会超越这个功能性。他觉得您就是觉得在比如说在这个数字平台这种技术和艺术创作的这种人性的表现之间，有没有一些可以就是能够互相借鉴的地方？
我觉得艺术家他很难像科学家这么去去发明跟创造。那么艺术家可能他的这个敏锐性可能是在对一个技术的一个诞生，或者对一个技术对我们社会或我们使用的一个改变。我们会用我们的作品去表现我们对它的一种反应，对它的一种甚至是反思。那么像我很多作品其实是用这样的一种方式，无论表达对它的乐观，还是表达对它的深切的忧虑，很多时候是透过这样的一种对媒介的使用对媒介的观察，对这些科技的一个了解以后得出这样的一个表现。他可能用的是一种作品的方式或者研究的方式去进行的一个就叫校检这个技术对我们的一个影响。所以我可能更多的作品不是说我用一个技术去表达我的一个图像、一个美学或者某个概念，用了技术这个本身作为一个工具。那我更多的是我是用了技术作为我的环境，作为我的这个艺术家本人体验的本身，去对他提出问题是这样的一种方式。
I feel like artists and scientists are different in this way, that artists do not create like a new technology or the tool as scientists do. As an artist, I feel I'm using my sensitivity. I use my art to make a reflection or give a response to new technology. And in my art making career, I express my sense of positivity or my worries towards some technologies. I feel like I'm an observer. I'm observing the changes that bring by the new technology and new scientific development, and I test the influence through my art. And the technology for me is a tool. I use it for me it's a tool or to express my experience for this technology and to ask more questions based on this.
Wonderful. There you go.
Perfect. Thank you so much. This is enlightening. I think there is definitely great synergy and collaboration because you could help technologists to bring in the human element way earlier into the design component than what they're doing at the moment, and hopefully approach technology on a more social impact perspective and a more kind of greater human impact perspective than what it is right now. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, all three. And with that, I'm gonna open it up to the audience. You are welcome to unmute yourselves if you wish to ask a question or make a comment. You're welcome to ask questions in the chat. I will read them out from there. And just as a reminder, again, if this is being recorded for YouTube, so if you don't want to be visible in the recording that we publish, please just make sure that your camera is turned off. But feel free to take it away. Maya,
hello.
Start us off, and then Patrick.
I see. So, okay, great. Thank you so much, both. It's really nice to hear the collaboration between the perspective of Hoda's work and the perspective of Cao Fei's work. The question that I have is, there's something you said right at the very end about, and I want to see if I understand this, that in your art, you view yourself as testing the influence of technology. Can you talk more about what this phrase means, to test the influence of technology and the influence on what? And related to that, early in the conversation, Hoda said something about the right to these sort of developing sort of ethical practices in the virtual realm, including the right to be erased and the right to not be analyzed. And I'm struck by this tension between the desire for visibility and sort of control over how you are presented in the virtual realm, and the desire to be able to erase your existence from the virtual realm. And these are both things that you're both, you know, virtually, I'm both not fully there and never fully able to not be there. That tension is something that I think might be what Cao Fei is talking about with testing influence, but I wanted to hear more about both of these ideas and where they intersect. Sorry for the long question. Apologies to the translator.
So may I ask Cao Fei to answer the first question and leave the second one to Hoda? Yeah, 曹老师，那您先回答第一个问题，就是他说您刚刚说到的，说去校检那个技术的带来的影响，您可以就这一点再说一下吗？
比如说刚才说到，其实提到已经几个这样的一个作品，就比如说China Tracy， 他如果他不沉浸在这个虚拟世界作为一个生活的一员一个成员，或者说他没有经过相对比较漫长的生活跟驻扎在这个虚拟世界，并建立了一个人民存在的城市，作为一个观察窗啊，作为像培植的一个容器。所以如果没有这样的一个实践，它很难真正的有了这个所谓数字居民的这样的一个真正的生活观念。所以我觉得这个就是需要我包括我的化身作为一个实验体去校检我们能不能够当时我说的是当时能不能拥有一个这样的一个虚拟的生活，就是全虚拟生活。就当时我是倡导一个是有没有可能我们生活的虚拟世界，或者说我们的大部分的一半以上的生活是用我们的虚拟生活形态来支撑的，那个是在就是10多年前去探讨的这样的。所以我用了这个项目去校检这样的一个可能性。我先说一个 sample。
Yes. So yeah, as Cao Fei has mentioned a few works just previously. So she said, just like the China Tracy, which is Cao Fei in the virtual world, her avatar. So China Tracy has immersed herself in the virtual world for a period for a long time, a few years, and she built a virtual city, the R&B city, and lived in the city for a few years. So in that way, she'll be able to test that if living in the she'll be able to test the experience of a life as a digital resident. And then she will be able to answer the question that can we have a virtual life that's to replace real life, or at least replace the majority of it. So that's her experiment 10 years ago.
那么就是说后来的 Asia One 我也是从上一个作品谁的乌托邦Whose Utopia 到 Asia One 之间，就是说用了去工厂做研究，然后看到了中国的这个制造业从人力到这个无人化的这样一个过程来。一方面是中国一个制造业的背景大国，它不像阿拉伯世界，中国能更是用到人力部分。所以也看到这个技术对这个，就通过这样的一个实践跟持续的一个观察，从制造业的角度又回到了技术对制造业的一个影响这么一个角度。所以就是说这几个项目之间其实有一个线性的一个关系。那么 Nova 虽然我没有直接用过多的技术去在这个作品本身没有用到这种超媒介的部分，但是就是说它是个传统电影，那电影里面看到了，就是说这个在中国过去的历史里面。
I think Cao Fei disconnected.
Yes, I think so.
The reliability of the digital world, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe I can start translate the first what she said, and then when she's back, she can continue.
Yeah.
And she talked about her work at Asia One, which we mentioned earlier. So Asia One is the work that's developed upon Whose Utopia. Whose Utopia was made in 2006. It's about the factories in China in 2006, where you see a lot of labor working in the factory, while in Asia One, it's a huge factory. On the other hand, without people actually working, but it's like a new technology and AI. So Cao Fei discussed technology development in China, where we have a huge population, and how this technology development has an impact on the people.
Yeah.
And she was about to talk about her film Nova, and she disconnected.
No issues. We can definitely catch up once she's back. But I could reflect from my point of view, Maya, regarding the different rights that existed with the technology. Unfortunately, we tend to build the technology again for a specific purpose. And then once it is deployed, we realize that there is a gap that exists between this technology that is being developed and the human impact that it has. So once you build the technology and you do realize that this technology could be used for purposes of discrimination or purposes of, limiting freedom of existence or freedom of expression or freedom of speech, you do realize later on that technology should not just be built in a nutshell for functionality, and with it comes a different set of responsibilities to protect, I would say, the digital existence of users, similar to what we've seen in the certain policies that were developed in Europe, for example, that says people would have the right to be informed of their information were used by any party, and the right to, for example, acquire their data sets that exist at specific parties and being manipulated by specific parties, in addition to the right to be erased if you don't want to exist on a digital platform, because you do realize that it would, subject you to specific harm or specific misconception or misrepresentation. You do have the right to just erase every little component of you that exists in that system, in addition to the right of not to be analyzed, or the right of, I would say, restriction of processing of information for users. And we've seen recently with so many kind of political information or political discourses that existed on social media, that certain parties did not want to be analyzed and being subjected to violations of their of their rights, for example, to vote for a specific political party against others. So as we are evolving technology, we do realize that we missed one or another aspects of the human dimension that we should have considered in the accurate representation of users or the accurate representation of a human on a digital medium. And I'm sure we will keep on facing this until we find the right balance of developing technology that comes with the ethical component, with the non-biased component in its DNA. Until then, we'll keep on facing the same issues. I think Cao Fei is back with us now, so hopefully we can go back to maybe addressing a different question or elaborating more on the same question.
Yeah, and it seems that there might be some camera issues, but I think we're also okay to move on with without the camera, Cao Fei, if that.
Okay,
is.
but there.
And
okay.
Yeah, Patrick, go ahead, ask your question.
Hi, how are you? Okay. First of all, good morning from America, Ni hao. Good to see you in real life, as it was very interesting during the RMB City Days that I was in attendance a great deal. One of the, as another Second Life artist, the interesting thing to me is two things in regards to identity. The idea in which that Second Life has its own art community, which in many ways considers itself apart from that of the contemporary. And of course, as we as contemporary artists, you know, in making that negotiation, you know, there are interesting issues as far as, you know, what constitutes art to who in an audience. And then on the other hand is that as our avatars, as mine is the Man Michinaga and yours as China Tracy, the thing is that I think it's very interesting that there are similarities and differences in our identities in the virtual world as artists as then in the real world. And I'm wondering, what differences did you find between yourself and China Tracy, you know, in Second Life, you know, as RMB City was happening? Thank you.
然后是他主要想问一下，您觉得您和 China Tracy 在这个第二人生和 R&B City 之间最大的不同是什么？ 好像听不见您说话。 I think Cao Fei has some connection issues.
Yes,
So
sounds
we're
like
able to hear her. 曹老师，您可以简单的打字吗？要不 Should I try again quickly?
Yes, no worries, yeah. It's the world of Zoom and internet connection. In the meantime, if anyone has any questions for Hoda, or I also just want to comment on the great conversation that is happening in the chat. So please keep responding to each other and keep that going. Maya, I saw you raised your hand, so please go ahead.
Well, you know, I think, oh, can you hear me?
No, I was saying is that if I can just make one comment, is that in 2012, I was working with Morsha and Aliari on a project called My Day, Your Night, in which we were talking between United States and Iran. And the thing is that the person who's now my wife, Nagina Tassabian, was the leader of the Iranian team. And the thing that I think that was very interesting is that these technologies as a way to connect with people, and we tried to meet during that project in Second Life in 2010, but because of the firewalls in Iran, you know, we couldn't meet and for the first time, but we were working together. And I think it's very interesting how technology reveals the real world issues that we face from a social and design perspective. And this is one thing I think is great about this work.
Yeah, thank you. Feel free to jump in, anyone. Maya, if you want to give your comment or question.
Well, I'm curious, Hoda, if you find that, do you often find yourself in these kind of existential conversations about, you know, how technology forces us to question who are we really, right? So if I exist on the internet in a way that I don't exist in the physical realm and vice versa, and you know, what I see are a lot of artists sort of creatively working with that freedom that the virtual world offers. But it also kind of gives rise to this, you know, who am I really? You know, is this me, or is this me, or am I both at once, or am I alternating? Do you find yourself in a lot of these philosophical conversations as part of your normal work?
Yeah, definitely. This is a constant struggle, I think, and we have to draw the line here into being inclusive in the conversation and not restrict different ideologies, because there is this one ideology that says if you misrepresented yourself on a digital platform in a way that you might find that it's an extension of you, however the universe would find it as a mal-representation of you, then there should be tools to restrict this and stop you from this misrepresentation of reality. While on another aspects, I do support what Patrick just said, that sometimes this extension of you that would exist on a digital platform might have a huge value in bringing certain voices into the conversation and certain points that you did not address on reality, because you do have so many restrictions that would exist in reality. For example, I would just say that in certain realms, certain conversation might not have a stamp of freedom if you exist in specific geographical location. So certain personalities might not have the freedom of just freely expressing themselves when they want to discuss a specific topic if you are in a confined meeting room or a confined physical space. While on a digital platform, you sometimes abuse this right of expression to be, I would say, we do have as well the rise of this kind of cyberbullying and cyber extremism and cyber terrorism, because certain individuals will take it to the extreme and expressing themselves. So I would like to give also the floor back to Cao Fei. I think she's back with us. Welcome back, Cao Fei. So we had an interesting conversation from Patrick. Sebastian, would you like to re-narrate the question?
Yeah, I'm happy to. Patrick was talking about his work in Second Life as well, and I think the question that came out of that really truly was, what are the differences in the real life versus the virtual existence and life that you, Cao Fei, have discovered? And Patrick, feel free to jump in there if I misrepresent that question or.
Yeah, because the thing is that I think the one thing that Hoda is saying, and by the way, I miss Abu Dhabi, by the way, but anyway, we're up here in Minnesota. But what happens is that, this notion of identity, in other words, it's like, who are you versus who is your avatar? And I think Hoda brings forth a fantastic idea of like, and this can be used critically, or this can be abused and all these sorts of things. But the one thing is, I think that's interesting. And the question that I had for Cao Fei, in our life and in Second Life is like, how did her avatar and her life, run in parallel and differentiate itself, during the time as artists in that world.
你先翻译。
行，他说您在就是 Second Life 里面的那个 Avatar China Tracy 和您就是自己的那个和本人之间，你们的生活仿佛是平行的，然后又有交集。他觉得想问说，您觉得就是 你们之间有什么就是交集的地方，有什么不同的地方
And also, good to see you in the real.
什么？最后一个。
Sorry, we didn't hear the last part.
No, I said good to see you in the real life.
他说很高兴在现实中见过你，因为他之前也是在那个 Second Life 上面。
呀，我觉得最大的不同的就是怎么说呢？就是说过去就是过去好几年时间，我没有再跟他相遇，因为我没有激活这个账号，所以呢，就是说但当我再看到他的时候，我觉得他跟10几年前还是一样，但是可能我已经老了，我的孩子也长大了。我觉得这个是个很实际的变化，但是有一种感觉，就是我觉得，因为我不经常改动他的 outfit，我会给他有一套固定的服装，那套服装定格在2009年，就是距今12年，已经没有变化过了。但是我觉得这个形象或者我操控的这个 avatar 本身，我觉得在那个虚拟世界上，它就是我。那么，如果它最大的不同的话，我觉得它当然是可以在当时的虚拟世界里面替代了我，在这个虚拟世界里面去发言，去这个漫游，去生活，但是其实某些时刻，我是非常困扰我，可能我跟其他艺术家创作不太一样，就是说我可能会比较沉溺在这个化身所代表我的这样的一个角色里面，所以才会，刚才一个 Patrick 提到John Rothman 的作品，他在虚拟世界里面去做这个创作，但是我觉得我作为我的这样的一个身份，或者是一个女性身份，她可能需要追求的是在这个世界里面，除了创造性以外，可能在当时是需要有情感、友谊，还有就是刚才提到的所谓的生活。我可能不是去找这个虚拟世界的这种 bug， 或者说我可能更想去找到某种建构性。那么这样的从这个维度上，我觉得这个 China Tracy 跟我在现实生活中的这种追求，我觉得应该是一致的。
Yep. So I think the biggest difference is that because I haven't met China Tracy for years, because I haven't been to this platform. So, and I don't change her outfit. So her last outfit was in 2009, so which is 12 years ago. So I feel like China Tracy doesn't change. China Tracy is still young, still in that time, in that space. But I feel China Tracy, this virtual avatar, is me in this virtual space, because she replaced me in that space to live, to speak, and to experience this life. Sometimes I feel a little bit uncertain, because I was quite obsessed with China Tracy in this virtual world, unlike other artists, especially maybe other male artists who are creating new things in the virtual world. I feel like as a female artist, in this virtual world, apart from creating, I also seek emotion. I also seek friendship, and I also seek a life experience. I see something that's constructive. So in that sense, I feel like China Tracy and me, in real life, I'm also seeking the same thing. So I feel like we are the same.
Thank you. And unfortunately, that brings us to the end of our hour. If Cao Fei or Hoda, you have any closing remarks or anything you want to say for people to walk away with, I'll give you 30 seconds each.
Thank you so much for opening up the conversation for us on this. And I think if we have the liberty of talking for days on this and having a proper conference on this, it would be really interesting to bring in the artists and technologists and see what kind of co-creations would exist out of the conversation. Because it would definitely redefine the way we live as a human being. So maybe what we perceive as for example, a freedom of expression in one territory is not the same on the digital platform, or what we have discussed exactly on the chat just now. Aging in a digital platform might be different than aging in a real life. So I'm very excited to see where are we going when we are really addressing the full potentials of VR and AR today. Yeah.
我是不是要总结一下吗？
对，曹老师就最后简单的总结一下。
对，非常抱歉，刚才有一个这样的虚拟的bug，所以呢，就是没有太多的这个展开。那么其实今天跟 Hoda 的这个讨论，我觉得其实我就是未来我还是蛮感兴趣的，就是阿拉伯世界对于科技技术的这样的一个投入是怎样的？比如说中国，它可能人工智能技术是就是已经定下了是中国未来的一个战略目标，包括要登火星等等。我相信阿拉伯世界也有这样的一个对于科技技术的这样一个投入，但是可能对于很多非阿拉伯世界的人，他可能是没有想象过的。可能很难想象阿拉伯世界跟火星的关系，或阿拉伯科幻等等。那么我觉得这个希望将来有机会可以展开未来的一些讨论，因为包括中国科幻其实在世界领域里面也是很难被讨论的，因为可能我们说到科幻的时候，可能更多的是美国或者俄罗斯。那么在这个阿拉伯科幻或者中国科幻，我觉得可能对于大部分的国际观众读者来说，其实也是具有它一定的一个稀缺性或者神秘性。可能这个也是就是说我比较感兴趣的一些话题，希望将来还是有机会或者跟 Hoda 有机会再去讨论这个的一些方向。
Yeah, first of all, Cao Fei said she was sorry for the virtual bug, so she had to log out for a few minutes and could not expand on her conversation. And in today's conversation with Hoda, she felt it's very interesting. And in the future, she really want to talk about more about the science and technology development in the Arab regions. Because currently in China, the artificial intelligence development has been a central topic, and also there are a lot of imagination and inspirations to explore outer space like Mars. So for the Arab regions, we have not even imagined its relationship with Mars. We have not imagined the sci-fi culture, and also it's the same for the Chinese sci-fi culture, which is very rarely discussed. So in the future, if there's opportunity, Cao Fei really want to have more discussion with Hoda about this science and technology development maybe between China and the Arab regions.
Thank you. And with that, thank you so much to Hoda, to Cao Fei, to Shu, to all of you being in this space for coming. I hope you had a great time.